All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and start the meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone today. My name is Irene Bustamante. I get to serve the team as the Vice President, and I call this work session of January 8th to order. The time is 4:05. I would like to remind everyone, please silence your electronic devices. We acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered is the territorial homeland of the New the Moapa Band of Paiutes, and the Las Vegas Band of Paiutes. We're going to go ahead and go to item number 1, the flag salute. And so, Trustee Johnson, if you could please lead us in that. Ladies, I have to remind you that this is our business items, and so please refrain from your comments in the audience. Thank you so much. So I'm going to now move to item 1.02, and that's the adoption of the agenda. Trustee Esparza-Straffigan.
I would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
On the screen. It's me. It's on the screen.
Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. At this time, I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, I have a first from Trustee Esparza-Straffigan, a second from Trustee Cavazos. Please cast your vote. Okay, that motion passes 7-0. I'd like to now move to agenda item, to our business items, but before we start, I'm going to have Trustee Zamora explain our process to make sure that any of the trustees don't have questions. I'm going to ask, after public comment, we'll explain in a second, I'm going to ask our board liaison, Joe Caruso, to come and explain how the paper ballots will work. Trustee Zamora.
Thank you, Vice President Bustamante Adams. So basically, I want to give the run of show for everyone. What's going to happen is we're going to be opening the agenda item. Because it is an action item, we will be doing public comment. So if you are interested in doing public comment, please submit your public comment cards. And then we will be having an open discussion / the nominations portion of it. After that, we will be making a motion to close. That will be a motion to close. We will need a second, and then we'll be voting to close nominations. After that, we will be doing 3-minute speeches from those who have been nominated for the position, and then the board from there will vote.
Thank you. Do any trustees have questions about that? Mr. Caruso, can you explain the ballot?
Madam President, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell, Joe Caruso for the record. So, Trustee Zamora, great recap. Just so each of you know, on all 3 of the agenda items, you'll have a copy of GP5, which we have posted up. This is really what drives the officer election process. So if you want to pull that out and kind of keep that in front of you. Step 3 is where the process that Trustee Zamora really begins and explained. The second attachment for each of the agenda items is the actual job description. So for example, for the first item, 2.01, it's GP6, which is the president's role, and then GP7 would be for 2.02, and then GP8 for 2.03. And then we have the NRS as the third attachment for each of the agenda items, which talks about the officer's organization. And then the last talks about the rights and responsibilities. This pertains to our non-voting trustees, just so there's clarity on the process. In your folders, you'll also see a tally sheet. This is used to track who is nominated for the office. So I know in the past, we've always been asked, is there a way we can help keep track of who's being nominated? So say, for example, I want to nominate Elmo for president, then you would mark Elmo got nominated. That's on your tally sheet. Then after you get to the point of saying your actual voting, when it comes to that time, speeches are done, like Trustee Zamora said, you have a ballot where you'll have to handwrite your name, and then you'll mark who you want to serve in each of the offices. We'll then collect the ballots. Caitlin and Lisa will then tally them together, read on the record. Joe Caruso voted for Elmo for this position, and then we'll know who was elected for each of the offices. Okay? And then again, GP5 is really what drives the process, so if you want to keep that out in front of you as you go, and if there's no other questions.
Thank you for that clarification. It's important to make sure that we understand it before we cast our votes. Right now, then, I'm going to open up item 2.01. Is there anyone who did not get a chance to complete a public speaker card? If not, please do so now. All right, then we're going to take public comment, and the first person, I'm going to have a person here to my right, and then we have a microphone here to our left. So Tiffany Beamel over here on my right, and then Dan Cahill over here on my left. Either one is okay, yes. But is Dan here? I don't see Dan. Oh, okay, you could come up here to the front, Dan. Thank you so much. Ms. Beamel, please.
Do I do all of them at once?
No,
just 2.01,
just
right?
2.01,
Sorry.
please. And
I'm
we'll
very
start the
flustered now. I don't like right and left. I teach history. Okay, sorry. Good evening, Dr. Tiffany Beamel for the record. As a frequent flyer for almost 4 years of this room and our displaced venues, I have seen a lot, been through a lot, listened to a lot, and observed the most. And I am emphatically here this evening to support the election of Linda Cavazos for board president. Trustee Cavazos has the experience, she has the trust of her constituents and the community. She understands Robert's Rules of Order and the process of running a good meeting. And she can pronounce my name. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have Dan next, and then after here on the front, if Jenna, are you? Okay, go ahead and come up.
Is it on?
Now you can.
My name is Dan Cahill. I'm here to support Linda Cavazos for the office of president. I've known Linda for 45 years. We taught together at basic high school as brand new teachers and have maintained that friendship all the way through. She's been a teacher for a long time. She was an outstanding teacher, and I think that's super important when you're taking on a job like this, to have actually been an educator. She's always advocated for students and teachers. She has been a part of the CCSD leadership. She spent 7 years on the board and was a past president. She works tirelessly for the kids in her zone. She's on the NIAA board and supports students that way. She knows all the functions of the school district, from athletics to mental health to construction. Her experience is desperately needed in this time of transition on the board and after the turmoil of the past superintendent. So I wholeheartedly support Linda Cavazos for president.
Thank you, Dan. Jenna, and then Chris G., if you could come up here on my left. Go ahead, Jenna.
Thank you. So I actually have a long comment just this first time, and I promise it'll be shorter for the other times. Madam Vice President Bustamante Adams, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell, Trustees. My name is Jenna Robertson, and I'm Advocacy Director for Nevada Alliance for Student Diversity, as well as a full-time vacancy sub for CCSD and a special education advocate in our community. For the record, I'm speaking tonight as an individual, not on behalf of NASD or of any organization, because my most important role is that of a mom to 4 current CCSD students and 1 recent graduate. When I say that I value each of your jobs and roles and votes up here on the dais, I mean it. I feel like very few people are as uniquely qualified as a mom in this district as I am to say how much I appreciate each of you. For example, let's see if I can do this without notes. Trustee Cavazos, I have 2 students in District G at a school. I count on you and your decisions. Trustee Stevens, welcome. I have 1 student who is amazing and has special education needs. I have one student in your district. When I say district, area, District A. Trustee Zamora, I have one student in your district, and she's farthest from me during the day, so I count on you to keep her safe. Thank you. Trustee Henry, thank you. Welcome. I work in your district. I'm in a school, in a classroom, all day long in your district. I count on you to keep me safe so I can go home to my kids. So thank you for your role on the dais. And Trustee Bustamante Adams, I live in your district, and all of our zone schools are in your district. I sub at your schools, if I wasn't full-time now. I sub in your schools, and my kids would go to your schools happily. Sometimes they ask me to because they could sleep in. So thank you. So I know as well as anyone in this room on either side of this, on either side of the aisle here, how important each of your roles are. I don't value one of your votes more than I value another. I know they're all important to my kids. They're all important to me. However, what I do value is the experience that I know Linda Cavazos has to be president of this board, knowing word of mouth what this district might face in the upcoming legislative session. I really want somebody experienced in this role. I want somebody who listens to the community, who hears everybody. I don't feel Linda shuts people out. Linda argues to have community events more than any other trustee, and she's the only trustee who has ever showed up at an SOT meeting. And I have run, been to, attended, and been part of many SOT meetings. Linda Cavazos is the only trustee who has ever showed up at a meeting. So, and I know because I invited her, and she showed up that day. So I just want to thank all of you. Thank you all for being here, especially our new members. I advocate for Linda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenna. Ms. Christie, and then next up is Marie Nices.
Thank you, Board of Trustees. Chris June Kiliani for the record. First of all, again, congratulations to the new trustees, newly seated trustees, I guess I should say. Tonight is the first chance that you have the right and the ability to redirect and turn the CCSD ship. All of you have an opportunity to change how the district will be governed. You are not here for a title. You are here to work, read, listen, question, and implement. To accomplish that, you need a chair that already knows the ins and outs, knows where the bodies are buried, or maybe should be, and when you're told something and it's not the full truth, you have someone that you can depend on to go to ask for more information. Someone who does their homework, who understands policy. You need someone that isn't controlled or manipulated by external groups, and one that will earn your trust and play fair. That person, in my opinion, is Linda Cavazos. I know her work ethic, her teaching style, her counseling ability, and her integrity. She will be inclusive, and even when you disagree on a policy, you will have a voice. And I think that's very key, and that's what's been left out for the last 5 years since I first called for Howard to be terminated. So I've been here for a little bit. I urge you to vote for her as chair so the ship begins to turn forward rather than sinking. You will send a message to the principals, the teachers, the support staff, the community, the parents, and most of all, our students, that business as usual at CCSD is over. Thank you.
Thank you. Marie, and then Leslie Quinn.
Good evening, Marie Nices, President of the Clark County Education Association, and I'd like to take a moment to congratulate you, the new elected trustees. Tonight, you will face a critical decision as the new board, choosing the right person to lead. While many decisions lie ahead, selecting the right leader to be president is paramount. This person must be a leader who sets aside personal agendas, fosters unity, and builds consensus. They must listen to every voice, respecting differing opinions, and always prioritizing what is best for CCSD. Our next president must be open to innovative ideas that propel our district forward, fully recognizing this board's decisions' impact on students, educators, and staff. For far too long, the community, educators, students, and staff have watched the school board plagued by dysfunction and division. The previous board was torn by factions, making decisions based on loyalty to allegiances rather than what was best for our students. We cannot and we must not allow history to repeat itself. Our students, educators, and staff deserve better than this. This new board will face difficult decisions that will directly affect student achievement. One of the most crucial decisions you will make is selecting the next superintendent. We need leadership to guide this process with integrity and to ensure the most qualified candidate is chosen to lead our district forward. With all due respect to Trustee Cavazos, you were the board president in the past, and we feel we need new leadership. Trustees, we implore you to set aside personal agendas, elect a president who will unite this board, and commit to a future that does not repeat itself. We have seen enough of it, and our students deserve the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna Binder, over here to my right. Miss Leslie, please begin.
Thank you.
Ms. Binder, that's what we have, and so if you'd like to come first, or
Can we restart the clock?
thank you for noting that. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, trustees, and congrats to the 4 new trustees as well. My name is Leslie Quinn. I'm a registered voter here in Clark County and an advocate for all children and all parents. Today is an opportunity for the newbies, as well as those that have already been trustees, to make an impact to the countless parents and children in the CCSD school system, to make good on the commitment you spoke about on your campaign trail. As I understand, there was one of the new trustees, a conservative, that opted to run for CCSD trustee president. Unless there is any reason she does not qualify to run, I ask that you vote for Lorena Biasotti for CCSD trustee president. She has a track record of commitment to being a shield of protection for our children. Please stand firm in your conviction of removing the radical agendas we've been experiencing of sexualization and pervasively vulgar literature from our CCSD schools, shutting down those that come to speak for our children like Pastor John Manchuco and many others. Let's replace that with solid education in math, science, reading, writing, history, music, finance, and likes, so our Nevadan children are brought up to be powerful leaders for our state, the nation, and beyond. I'd like to end with this about our children's future and the decision you each will make today. The real damage is done by those millions who want to survive, the honest men who just won't want to be left in peace, those who don't want their little lives disturbed by anything bigger than themselves, those with no sides and no causes, those who won't take measure of their own strength for fear of antagonizing their own weakness, those who don't like to make waves or enemies, those for whom freedom, honor, truth, and principles are only literature, those who live small, mate small, die small. It's the reductionist approach to life. If you keep it small, you'll keep it under control. If you don't make any noise, the boogeyman won't find you. But it's all an illusion, because they die too. Those people who roll up their spirits into tiny little balls so as to be safe. Safe from what? Life is always on the edge of death. Narrow streets lead to the same place as the wide avenues. And a little candle burns itself out, just like the flaming torch does. I choose my own way to burn. Sophie Scholl of the White Rose Resistance. Let us remember we speak for an audience of one, and I hope that each of you will do that as well and honor God, those of you that do believe in him. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Binder, and in this to the right, Jerry Burton. Jerry Burton. Ms. Binder, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell. Historically, over the past year or so, I do like to turn my public speaker cards in almost last because I attend more of these meetings than anyone in the community, and I like everyone to go ahead of me for the people who typically don't show up. So I just would like to note that I know that I turned my speaker card in well after other people here, but I'm here now, so I just want to let you guys know that happens. Typically when leadership takes over a board, I don't think it's in your GP, and it's not just this board, but it's all across this great state. But typically those leaders get to serve for 2 years. So typically your president serves for 2 terms, your vice president, and then you move up in leadership and whatnot. And I want to very clearly point out that Linda was robbed of her 2nd year by the people who wanted to sink our ship. And now only one of those people are still a sitting board member. And Linda was robbed and depraved of her 2nd year. And holding anything from COVID against her is not fair. I've heard a lot of chatter about that from my community. But more importantly is like what others are saying, we do have, everybody knows we got to turn the ship around. We got to purge the water. And we need somebody who's not going to get laughed out of the legislature. And maybe later I'll go back and pull a couple of presentations over like the last interim and sessions and replay for you guys how disrespectful and just gross some of those presentations have been. And we definitely don't want to repeat that either, because we do have a prime opportunity to maybe earn a little respect back, because whether we like it or not, the legislature is going to give these appointed members a vote come July 1. So when we go to have this meeting next year, it's not going to be about 7 votes or a 4 majority vote. It's going to be 11 of you, whether it's all the same 11, right? So we do have a very wonderful opportunity to do a lot of really great things, and we need those great things to happen. As my new trustee said the other night, like, we have to find the magic and we have to focus on the magic, because we are capable of that. We know we are, and we have to be united in that, because if we don't do it now, when are we going to do it? Maybe next year. I don't know. But let's do it tonight. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Next, we have Tim Underwood. If you proceed over here. And Jerry, please proceed.
My name is Jerry Burton, for the record. I'm here in support of Trustee Linda Cavazos for president of the school board. I've known Linda for over 7 years. I've depended on her as a trusted community leader and advisor to me personally and in the community. I'm a native Nevadan. I went to public school here in Las Vegas. I graduated from Western High School. My maiden name is Barnson, and people who've been here a long time know that we're longtime family of teachers since the 1950s, if you know. My son and grandsons have both attended Clark County Public Schools. I'm also an activist with the Nevada chapter of the National Organization for Women. And I say this to make you aware that I'm aware of our school district needs. I'm a native. And I'm here to say that Trustee Cavazos is the person to be president of our school board. She has the experience and the compassion needed. As most of you know, she's had 40 years in Southern Nevada, taught at Basic High School for 15 years, an instructor at UNLV for 9 years. For counseling practice, she works with family therapists part-time, working with young children. She's helped me when my son had problems. He was suicidal, and she helped me find the right places to send him. She's just been a trusted person in our community, and we just couldn't have a better person running our school board. And I'm so happy to see Tamika here on the board as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Tim, and then is it Katrina? Did I say it right? No worries. After that, we will have Miss Ford. Go ahead, Tim. Yes. Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you. Tim Underwood. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the new board members, Ms. Henry, Lorena, Emily, Lydia. So glad to see you here on the board. Regarding today's vote for president of the board, school parents the past few days have watched the unfolding horror of Great Britain's Islamic grooming gang rape culture. The professional class across the Atlantic who control their government have offered up hundreds of thousands of working class girls to mass rape by Pakistani grooming gangs. We are witnessing the arrogant, dismissive attitude and behavior of the hyper-credentialed elites who hold British working class families, 70% of the population, in utter contempt. Indeed, it appears the hypocrites in charge of England have waged war on their working class.
Can you stop the clock for a second? Mr. Underwood, we want to hear you. Can you help me to understand how it relates to the school board president role?
It's my next line in the speech.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Likewise, we school parents of Clark County have watched in horror because our professional managerial class, through the power of this school board, exhibits the same arrogant and dismissive attitude and has served up our our children to the Clark County Education Association's groomer gangs. This atrocity is so grave that if it continues, we'll have the Las Vegas Valley, indeed the whole state of Nevada, filled with tens of thousands of mainly girls, and some boys too, sexually traumatized for life by CCSD's gender grooming protocol. The last trustee standing who voted for the K through 12 transgender protocol back in 2018 is the loquacious Linda Cavazos. This professional class busybody, this virtue signaling hypocrite, fiercely defends her gender rape of innocent girls and boys by calling angry parents, school staff, and grandparents a cancer to Clark County. No, the power of the board presidency must not be given to such a trustee. In fact, no additional powers of any kind must be given to this malicious government official. I highly doubt that Trustee Cavazos will complete her term, actually. The working class families of Clark County want her removed from office for waging war upon their children. Say no to child castration in Clark County. Say no to Trustee Cavazos as president of the board. Thank you.
Next, Katrina, if you'd like to go to my right, and then Ms. Ford up here to your left. She is going to go there. I'm asking you to come over here.
Okay. Hello. My name is Katrin Ivanov, and I am a parent. I, as many parents, didn't care much about school board, especially in the beginning of my kids' education. They were in private schools, and I thought you can't do anything to them. But later I find out that whatever you guys do affects everybody. So then I got involved. And I want to implore, this time parents voted very loudly. And Linda Carbasso specifically organized against Lorena Biasciotti, and the votes are very, very clear. The parents' choice was Lorena Biasciotti, and I hope that you take that in consideration. The whole country voted for a change. We don't want the old stuff before, and I cannot believe people say don't hold Linda's decisions during the pandemic against her. What if we have another pandemic? Of course, we're going to hold every decision against or for you. That is why Lorena Biasciotti is the better choice. It's actually the only choice from the parents that voted this time around. They voted against the 3 people that Linda Carbasso endorsed. That was the parents' choice. If that meeting was tomorrow, more parents would have been here to talk. But 4 o'clock on Wednesday, a lot of us are working. I would have been at work if it wasn't for my foot injury. So in the Bible it says, by their deeds you will know them. We know Linda's deeds, we know Lorena's deeds. So I implore you, support what the parents wanted. The way we told Katie Williams, and this is not a threat, those are facts, we told her, she was supposedly the conservative on the board. She lost so bad. She ran out of the state. Please vote for Lorena. Conservatives until now only had 2 choices. And that's what we call it. We had a choice between the evil and the smaller evil. Now you have a choice between evil, smaller evil, and good. Okay? Now we finally have a choice for good. So please, I implore you, and I'm not calling you guys evil. I'm just saying that's an expression. I just want to be clear on that. I'm not calling nobody evil. This is an expression when you have 2 not very good choices. One of them is worse than the other. Now we finally, as conservatives, have a good choice. And as mentioned in January, we're no longer going to have that choice because legislature managed to give vote to people that were not elected. That is so sad. Regardless, I implore you that you vote. And just for clarification, I wanted to mention a few numbers because not everything is about money. This time it was people speaking. Just so you know, Lorena Biasciotti collected $8,994 and
No, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Your time is up. Ms. Ford, if you'd like to come up, and then Dr. Lassos, you will be here on your right.
Thank you. Danielle Ford for the record. I am a former CCSD trustee, current member of the Nevada State Board of Education. I'm here speaking as an individual citizen. I have an opinion of who your president should be, and I'm going to share it with you with specific reasons why. But my opinion doesn't matter that much. while 99% of items should be made with the community in mind, the board officers are your decision. That person will determine how much authority you keep for the board or give to the superintendent. They'll decide how much information the board makes public or is deemed confidential, and it's the person who facilitates personal issues between board members. I'm strongly requesting that you elect Trustee Linda Cavazos for board president for 3 specific reasons. First, your governance policies need to be fixed. Major changes were made in 2019 and 2021 that greatly reduced the board's ability to properly govern. Linda is the only trustee with the historical knowledge to be able to get some of your power back quickly. 2, you need someone to speak truth to legislators during the legislative session starting next month. In 2023, the board president got absolutely publicly reamed by the Education Committee during a hearing because she was refusing to answer their questions about CCSD's spending, and she stuck to her talking points from the superintendent who was sitting right next to her. She was in tears from the pressure, but she still refused. You need a president with a backbone and the skills to mend CCSD's relationship with legislators and municipalities, especially if Trump does what he says he's going to do and he sends the federal funding back to the states. Without that relationship, the state could not give that money to CCSD, like what has happened in the past with the room tax and the marijuana tax. It could just end up in the general fund. The third reason is that Linda is fair. She was not a fan of mine when I joined the board. I know, right? I was shocked too. She was, at that point, vice president to a president who governed based on her personal feelings, often against me. And despite Linda's feelings about me, she always stood up for me regardless of her own opinions. Later, when Linda and I became friends and allies, and she was board president, there were many times when I said or did things that Linda personally agreed with, but she explained to me in private that she couldn't join me in it because she had to act in a way that was representative of the full board. I didn't always appreciate that, but I accepted it because that is how Linda is. She has her personal beliefs. She makes them known, which is her right, like all board members have, but she does not merge them when performing her duties as an officer. I truly believe Linda Cavazos is the best choice, but remember, it's your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have Angie? I can't read the last name over here on my left. Dr. Cavazos, please proceed.
Dr. Lassos, Sylvia
Dr.
Lassos.
Lassos. I was thinking about Danielle talking about Linda, so thank you.
My name is Sylvia Lassos. I am emeriti law professor. I have lobbied on behalf of children at the legislature for the last 20 years. And I have been in various roles of community leadership also for the last 2 decades. And I'm here to support Linda Cavazos in her bid to become president of the board. It is unfortunate that our community lacks confidence in CCSD. It has played out in many ways. I went to the legislature in 2023, and I could tell you that every legislator held the CCSD board and the CCSD management in deep scorn and contempt. We cannot advance the interest of children if CCSD continues to be thought of at such a low level. It is alarming what happened with respect to Trustee Katie Williams, that the board was unable to police the appropriate legal membership of one of its members. That has totally blown the minds of members of this community and continues to blow the mind of the legislature. And the term turmoil of our last superintendent, which I think was generously used, just underscores how important it is to turn the page as you make this important decision. It is important to signal that you are turning the page on integrity, on transparency, on governance policies that allow you to do the job, on the budget, on proper spending of billions of dollars. So this decision of your leadership within the board is extremely important. Linda, as people have said, is a person of integrity. I heard no one at the legislature doubt her integrity. That is a given with the legislature. She is a fair person. There are people here today that don't agree with her views, but I don't think anybody can doubt the fact that she tries to be fair and even-handed. In my perspective, to a fault. She's a therapist. She always wants to see both sides of an issue. I'm a lawyer. I like to see only one side of an issue. But when you have someone who likes to see both sides of an issue, it really helps with the conduct of a board that will disagree. And moving forward, you need that kind of fairness. She cares about every kid. You know, being criticized for caring perhaps too much about a kid goes with the territory, but I can vouch for the fact that Linda Cavazos is somebody with a big heart who really cares about integrity of every child. And that's what we need moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And Angie, you will be our last person. Please proceed.
Hello, and congratulations to our new members of the board. My name is Angie Joy, and I'm a first grade teacher at Mountain View Elementary School. I'm also a proud member of the executive board of CCEA. I have been a member of this school district for several years, and I'm excited for all of the new changes that 2025 will bring us. I'm excited for our new school board members that have taken the first step on a long journey to improve things in our district. I am hopeful in our superintendent search and strong leadership that can tie us all together. Now we are at a juncture to choose a school board president, and this is another area where strong leadership is not only desired, but required. I ask you to think seriously about where we have been and why it is so important for us to move forward on the right foot. Our new school board president should be one of action, decisiveness, with the spirit of togetherness and unity to heal many wounds left open in our district, but also with the clarity to help us move forward. We cannot look to the past for all the answers, and a new president should be a guiding light to take us away from where we've already been. This decision cannot be taken lightly because we cannot take any more years of the same old thing. Our new school board president should be someone ready to build new relationships and ensure communication with our district's many stakeholders and the community. The president should be ready to be visible and vocal about our district and our movement forward into the future. I implore you to please choose a president that will embody the type of togetherness that we need and will not shy away from tough conversations. Please choose someone that can listen to constructive criticism or opinions that differ from their own with the same respect that every invested stakeholder here deserves. Just as teachers go above and beyond every day, I want to know that our school board president is doing the same. Please choose the president that will not only be invested in the success of our district, but has the time to mend relationships, seek out partnerships, learn new information, stay in touch with the community, and stay on top of the many district affairs as they go on. This will not be an easy job, and it is not to be taken lightly. We need brand new leadership that has not served as board president before to lead us in a new direction. I am hopeful that as you vote for a school board president, you keep these things in mind and choose someone strong enough to bring us together and usher in a new day at CCSD. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, trustees, this is our time. I'm going to go ahead and open it up for us to do nominations for the office of president. I see Ms. Estrofagan in the queue.
Madam Chair, for the record, I submitted my request to speak, and maybe it was a couple minutes late, in fact, but I wanted, you were asking for us to submit this. I would like to at least go on record to speak.
You know what, because this is so important, I'm going to allow you to do that, because I did see you walk in and you did have your yellow card in your hand, so I did see that. So, Mr. Romero, please come first. Come up. Yes, either one.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Bustamante Adams and Superintendent Larson Mitchell, members of the board. Feliz Año Nuevo. Happy New Year. For the record, I am Fernando Romero, President of Hispanics in Politics, Nevada's oldest Hispanic political organization, founded 45 years ago. Because of her institutional knowledge as it pertains to the Clark County School District, and due to her standing up to the majority bloc when they were making bad decisions for our district and our students, and in light of the fact that she is a former educator as well as a small business owner and is a highly respected mental health professional, not to mention a tested and experienced trustee and community leader, I come before you to urge you to please vote for Trustee Linda Cavazos for President of this Clark County School Board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to Trustee Estroff again. Go ahead. It's not on? Yeah, press it again.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. So I will make a motion, but I think I'm going to take the opportunity because of the fact I want to express my why before, because we have so many new trustees new to this board. Out of all of us, I will say to you, I want to share kind of a story. I think it's important for us to understand the power of leadership. And great leaders really, in times that are good, can lead. But it's in times that are most peril and difficult that truly shows what a leader is and what a leader needs to be, which is courageous and making very difficult decisions. So I want us to, yes, talk about the past, because in my past chapter, it's no secret that I was a serving principal during the time that we endured COVID. And I'm going to tell you one of the things as a leader that we took upon ourselves as a charge was to mentor other principals, especially new principals. It was a very scary time. It was a very uncertain time. It was a very difficult time for all communities because we didn't know how to do schooling differently. So what I want to share with you is in that mentoring of new principals, the one person that we often looked to for our own mentorship and for how to guide the district was Trustee Linda Cavazos. One thing that we could count on was that she put students' safety, well-being, and I'm talking the whole child, at first and foremost paramount. And I would say to you that because of her fairness, despite whatever you think about ideology or beliefs, she allowed people to express how they felt and what they were going through at that time period. So what I want to say at this point in time is I lived it. I was boots on the ground, and now I'm wearing a different hat. And I just want to tell you that individuals in our community have strongly expressed, as we've heard from public comment, that we don't know what the next chapter is going to be with this district, and we need a leader that is going to take us into a new direction and unify us, be fair, be compassionate, and make some hard decisions, and repair the relationships with municipalities, elected officials, all individuals. So I would like to make a motion to nominate Linda Cavazos as the president.
Thank you, Trustee. Ms. Cavazos, do you accept that nomination?
Thank you, Trustee Bustamante Adams, and thank you, Trustee Esparza Stafford. I do accept the nomination. And I thank you.
Thank you. I have Trustee Barron in the queue. Oh, it went away. Press the button again, Isaac.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Vice President. I've been a part of an elected body since 2013. I can tell you that as you go forward, people who sit up here on a dais, and this is, of course, my statement, not just to the public, but to my colleagues here. we can't go later on decide, I didn't know. We're going to be held responsible for every decision that we make going forward. The trustees will, the voting trustees, they're going to be held accountable for their decision. And later on, we can't say, I didn't know. I had no idea. I didn't know what was going on. We have the power to ask. Months ago, the board clerk that was here had questions about a member who was not even legally living in the state. The next month, 5 of my colleagues actually had to open up a case with the Attorney General's office. I'm sorry, the DA's office. Months went by. We see of the electeds who are here, my colleague Linda Cavazos, and of course, Brenda Zamora, they continued, and even after it was revealed and enough evidence was found against my colleague, who really wasn't even my colleague anymore, they were the ones who consistently still asked questions. They wanted to know why. Who knew and why didn't you take action? Who knew and why didn't you take action? That's what I know I want to know. And believe me, I will release all my emails and you'll see who was included in them. The one thing that I will say, what our public wants more than anything else is transparency. Leadership, transparency, and we don't make more excuses. Not to the governor, who, quite frankly, the last leadership led this board to the darkest time in its history, so much so that he had to appoint a babysitter, a financial babysitter, to oversee us. With that in mind, I do think the best person going forward to lead this, to bring us back to respectability. No more obfuscation, no more excuses, no more Sergeant Schultz, I knew nothing. I think my next person that I want to see, that I think that everyone should pick, will be Linda Cavazos. I think I've said enough. We don't need a second, but that's my statement. If I hadn't gotten beat to the button, that'd be my statement going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would go ahead and I'm going to self-nominate myself to be considered for the board president. So you have myself and Linda. Is there any other comments from trustees? Miss Henry.
There it is. Thank you very much. I would like to nominate Trustee Zamora. I've listened to public comment, listened to constituents who have called in. I've heard that we need to move forward in a new and fresh direction. I've also heard that maybe having someone new serve as president, and so I would like to nominate Trustee Zamora.
Thank you. So Trustee Biasotti.
Hi, good evening. I'd like to self-nominate myself for president, and I will start with a quote. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting
Ms. Lorena,
different results.
we're going to have 3 minutes each for the person that is nominated, so if I could ask you to hold on. And then revert back to Trustee Zamora, would you accept that nomination? Nope. Where are you?
There you go. I'm Z, so I'm all the way on the bottom of the list. Thank you.
No, you're not. Do it one more time. And you know what, Ken, do me a favor, just turn everybody's mic on. It's we're adults. So, yeah. Oh, you can't. All right.
Thank you, Vice President Bustamante.
Do one more time. One more time, Brenda. Press the button.
Hello. Okay. Thank you, Vice President Bustamante Adams. Thank you, Trustee Henry. I really appreciate your faith in me, but I think at this time, I will not be accepting that nomination. But thank you. I think my place might be somewhere close. So thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so then in the queue, I have Trustee Satori.
Thank you. And I have so much respect for all of my colleagues up here, and Trustee Bustamante Adams. I know she's been very helpful to me coming on board and being helpful and showing me a lot of things. Same with Trustee Zamora as well. I've had the opportunity, though, to sit so closely to Trustee Cavazos throughout this journey, and I was really felt fortunate that I had that opportunity, because throughout this time she's been able to, I mean, I really respect her knowledge. I can ask her questions. She knows everything. I can tell how much she cares. She really does care. And I love how connected she is to the community. So those are important parts of to me. So I would endorse her as well.
Thank you so much, Trustee. Is there anybody else in the queue? If not, then I'm going to... Okay. Now it's going to be, did you have your mic on? No, you didn't press the button. If not, then I'm going to ask Trustee. Huh?
I'm in the queue.
You are? Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice President. I would like to make a motion to close the nominations at this time.
Thank you. So I have a first from Trustee Zamora to close the nominations. Do I have a second? Lorena?
I second that motion.
Okay, I have a first and a second to close the nominations for Board President. Please cast your votes. Miss Emily, if you could cast your vote to close the nominations. Okay, that passes 7-0. Now we're going to go and allow each trustee to give 3 minutes remarks if they so desire. It's not required, but it is an option. And Trustee Cavazos, I would ask you to go first. I'll go second, and then Ms. Lorena, you could go third.
Thank you, Trustee Bustamante Adams. I don't have any remarks prepared, because even when I do have them prepared, I don't pay attention to them 90% of the time. So I've heard a lot of different comments tonight. I'm overwhelmed by the support. I'm appreciative of it, both for the people who are supporting me and both for the people who are not supporting me. Everybody's voices need to be heard. I have been here for a long time. I was appointed first in 2017. And then I was reelected twice, in 2018 and in 2022. Both times, my community and my District G gave me an overwhelming margin of over 8,000 votes in both the primary and in the general. Those votes told me that I had a responsibility to stand up for the District G community, but it is also a responsibility to stand up for the entire district. So all of our kids and all of my colleagues' districts belong to all of us, and we have to take care of all of them. So right now, we cannot ignore the past, but I think that we can't dwell on the past. We have to go forward, and we have to look at how we're going to look at how we turn this ship around and we regain the trust of the community. To be in this job, you need to have passion. We are most definitively not doing it for the money. I still have one lovely gentleman in my District G that communicates with me regularly, and he still thinks that I make $90,000 a year instead of $9,000. He's very polite, he's very nice. He says things like, I don't know why you would do that job for $9,000, but he thinks I make $90,000. One of the things that is the most important and that I did as a vice president is I went out into the schools and I went to as many events as possible. Reading Week in March. I see, yes, I see Ed Gonzalez sitting back there. He knows that I'll be there. But this job is not about the money. It is about caring. It's about including everybody. It's about listening. And right now, we need some hard work to be done, and it needs to happen very soon. I heard our new 4 trustees talk, all 4 of them, in one way or another about change. And I believe them. I believe them, that change needs to happen. It needs to be strategic. It needs to be with experience. And it cannot be in a lopsided way where we are making big general sweet statements without thinking about how is this going to affect the child in the classroom? How is this going to affect the educator? How is this going to affect the parent? And how is it going to affect the entire community? So moving forward, I would ask for your support from my colleagues because I want to see a board that is going to be professional, respected, and is going to regain the informed oversight that we have been denied for the last few years. And it will take all of us. We're not always going to agree. I know that for a fact. We're not always going to agree. But we can work through it, and we can get to a place where the headlines are not about the school board meetings being a circus. They're going to be about, hey, they got this done. They might add on finally, but they're going to say, we got this done. And we are giving every child a licensed educator in their classroom. We are giving every child every opportunity to listen and to know what opportunities are open to them. I'm sorry, terrible allergies here. I want to say to my board colleagues that I appreciate all of you, and I know that we can get this done. And it is not going to be easy. It's going to be a big challenge, but I ask for your support, and I thank you so much. One last thing that is not on the agenda tonight, so I'm just going to allude to it for the future, is that we have the power to turn around the structure of president, vice president, clerk, and make it so that all of you, all 11 of you are included in agenda planning, not just the president and vice president, but that we can have a chair, a vice chair, a second vice chair. We can have a structure where we rotate, and every single one of us has an opportunity to plan the items on the agenda. Instead of being told, this is what's going to be there, we get to listen to these people out here, and we get to say, Mr. Cahill here sent in, sent in, he's smiling here, sent in a request, and that we have a chance to say, let's look at that request. Do we need to do that? Okay, I'm losing my voice here with my allergies, so I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. I will go next. Irene Bustamante. It would be an honor to serve as your board president. For every group that I've had the opportunity to lead, and there have been many, I have always focused on building team. I have focused on collective impact, and it wasn't just about me alone. And so I know that all 11 of us could carry the weight. I know that I agree with Trustee Cavazos that that door has not been open in the past. And so it was very secluded. The demonstration of the fact that you may not have a strong second because of not being exposed to learn how to draft an agenda, how to put items, how to do a closed session. That's an example. We can't have that. We don't have the luxury of not being inclusive. The average term for this group is about 4 years. It takes us 2 years maybe to get it up and learning how to make this work. And then your 2 years to finish and actually do something of impact. We can't have that. We either got to step up together or we're not going to make it. And the kids needs us to make that decision together collectively. And so I just want to share that. I also want to share that I am very focused on succession planning. There was a comment today from the public about how we handle our succession. I am sorry that you guys have been bombarded with phone calls, that this has become like a political circus, and we're so not focused on the things that we should be focused. And some people were being bombarded late at night, right? From every single person that had an opinion. And that means that we're not doing something right, because it shouldn't be like that. It should be a more business-focused approach. And so I'm committed to succession planning. I also want to share that we're talking about the legislative session. Some of you may not know that I was a former legislator for 8 years during the Great Recession, the toughest time because there was no money. And so I had to learn how to cut and figure out how to plug holes in a really difficult time. And so, Trustee Esparza-Straffigan, you talked about the revealing of character when there's a crisis. That was it. Not only I've done it once, but also as a military spouse, being able to handle my household for 3 repeated deployments. So it does reveal character. I think that you guys have good choices between board presidents. It does come down to making a decision of what's best to move forward. I think that I can bring that to this team. I think that I am the leader that could build the collective impact and develop the succession planning. We have some critical decisions to make in these next 90 days. And I believe that I am the person to do that. I would love the honor to be able to serve you in that way. I would love the honor to be able to bring my gifts that I have. And even if I don't get chosen, I'm still going to be a team player and give 100%. And so somebody in the audience during the oath of office that I hadn't seen in a long time said, Irene, I am so grateful to see you here. One of the things that you bring to the table is that you're consistent. You're consistently giving and consistently leading. And that's why I appreciate you. And so I would love the honor and the privilege to be able to serve you in that way. I would ask for your support. Lorena?
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. So the reason I nominated myself is because we tell our children all the time that actions speak louder than words. And as parents, yes, words are very nice, they're very endearing. Sometimes when you're in the political arena, you learn how to say the right things and how to sound appealing. But we parents have lived it, and we sat through the division. The reason I'm here is because there was a lot of discouragement in parents that were silenced, that were disenfranchised from engaging the board. We can't have that spirit anymore. And like I said, we're hearing things that sound great, but we have seen it play out, and it's not what we've lived with the COVID lockdowns, I think. And after that, that was a litmus test. That was where we can show grace under fire, and where a lot of it failed. There was a failure, a huge failure, and we need to be very careful who we put in charge as we're moving forward, because we need to go one direction. It has to be forward. We need a fresh start. And by repeating the same thing, we're not giving ourselves that opportunity. So I wanted to run to give my colleagues an opportunity to have someone that would voice the concerns of parents, that you would know there's no underlying reason, there's no title that I'm looking for. My whole interest is the well-being of our children, mentally and academically. And that's solely what we should base our decisions on, not on our alliances, on the friendships we have built, only on the well-being of our kids. And so transparency is a solution. I don't have to know much. I have to be sincere. And I have to be honest and responsible to my constituents. And there's been a real lack of transparency. I want to give power back to the parents where it belongs. I've said it all along, take the reins of education and put them back into the hands of parents. Let them steer this ship. And I'm sitting here because parents didn't agree with the board that we had. So why would we want the same thing we had if it already failed us? And so lastly, I do want to say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate the audience. That is a proper way to express your support for what is being said. So thank you, instead of shouting and screaming. So thank you for respecting our house. So with that, Mr. Caruso, can you come back up? And seeing no other people in the queue, I don't see anybody. We are going to go ahead and take our vote. And can you explain it one more time, the ballot sheet?
Madam President, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell, Joe Caruso for the record. So you have your tally sheets that you were able to note who was nominated. So now on your ballot sheet, you'll need to put your name and then make your selection for the office of the president. And then as soon as that's done, we'll come collect those, and then Caitlin and Lisa will read them onto the record. We will need to keep the ballot. So please don't make any other notes on it other than your name and your vote.
Thank you. So go ahead and fill out your ballot, and they'll be by to pick that up from you.
Did she say who was going to be tallying the ballots, who was counting the ballots? Make sure you're the right one at the top.
I hear what you're saying. Okay. I think we're ready, Mr. Caruso.
And did you say out loud who would be tallying the ballots?
While we're waiting for them to tally the votes, the next item that we will take up will be the vice president. So if you have not filled out a public comment card for that, please be doing that now and bringing it up to our staff. And that would be for agenda item number 2.02. Vice President, if you haven't filled out a comment card, we'll be going to that next. And then, Mr. Caruso, we wait for you to tally, right? Yeah, thank you. Ms. Caitlin, are you ready?
Yes, would you like us to read these into the record?
Yes, please read them into the record.
Okay, we have Lorena Biasotti voting for Lorena.
If you can speak a little louder for
Sure,
me,
is
that
this
would be
better?
helpful. Yes.
We have Lorena Biasotti voting for Lorena Biasotti. Brenda Zamora, voting for Linda Cavazos. Irene Bustamante Adams, voting for Irene Bustamante Adams. Emily Stevens, voting for Irene Bustamante Adams. Tamika Henry, voting for Irene Bustamante Adams. Lydia Dominguez, voting for Linda Cavazos. Linda Cavazos, voting for Linda Cavazos.
So we have and legal counsel, I'm going to ask you to chime in here because I've never seen this happen, but I have one for Lorena, I have 3 for Linda, and I have 3 for Irene. What are our options?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. John Okazaki, General Counsel for the record. Per your own policy, in this situation, the 2 candidates who receive the most votes, the vote is recast with just those 2 candidates.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarity. So, Mr. Caruso, do we have another ballot sheet? So trustees, I would ask you, based on our legal counsel, the 2 top vote getters go forward. We will ask you to vote between Linda Cavazos and Irene Bustamante Adams. Ms. Caitlin, please proceed.
Thank you. Okay, we have Lorena Biasotti voting for Irene Bustamante Adams. Brenda Zamora voting for Linda Cavazos. Irene Bustamante Adams voting for Irene Bustamante Adams. Emily Stevens voting for Irene Bustamante Adams. Tamika Henry voting for Irene Bustamante Adams. Lydia Dominguez voting for Linda Cavazos. And Linda Cavazos voting for Linda Cavazos.
Thank you, Ms. Caitlin. So what I have is 1, 2, 3, 4 for myself, Irene, and I have 1, 2, 3 for Linda. So then 4 to 3, and that would be a nominating, appointing myself to be the board president. So thank you, thank you, team. I appreciate it. We are now going to go on to item 2.02. We're going to go ahead and take public comment first. Miss Tiffany Beamel, if you would come up, and then Jenna, if you would be over here on my left.
Am I good? Good evening, Dr. Tiffany Beamel for the record. I would like to lend my support to Brenda Zamora for Vice President. Trustee Zamora has shown that she is willing to put in the work, and her innovative ideas have helped involve the community in more events than ever before. I appreciate her questions and exploratory requests for evidence. It's important to note that she has experience and knowledge and can bring that to this role. Thank you.
Thank you. That's okay, Jenna. I just want to bring up the next person up on the, Chris G., if you could come up to the podium. Go ahead, Jenna.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Jenna Robertson for the record. I came up to offer my support to Brenda Zamora as Vice President, but I would also like to take into consideration that Trustee Cavazos, I think, would be valuable on the executive board as well. My feeling is that you don't have to agree with what the public says, right? We're not going to influence your vote, really. We're going to come in and we're going to tell you who we support as individuals. You know who you've worked with and who you support, and you know experience and who you support, and that's great. But I have to wonder why we would throw our support as a board behind somebody that not one person came out to speak for. And that's not a slam. It's not. We're working, we're busy. I get it. But I hope that for Vice President, you will actually listen to the people in the room that took the time to come and voice opinions. Every letter of support might be for another candidate that I don't support. What the hell do I know? I'm a parent, right? And also, I would like to add that we have people on the dais, right, who purport to speak for parents. And I guess I would like to say that I'm a parent too. And I'm a parent who might not share your opinion, might not share your opinion, might not share any of your opinion. I'm a parent too. So when you speak for parents, make sure you understand you're not speaking for every parent. You're not speaking for all parents. You're not speaking for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. Chris?
Christian Killing. It's weird. Red is on and green is off. It's so on reverse. Christian Kiliani. My trustee is Brenda Zamora. I think she's decided that she wanted to express support for this position, and I appreciate you sticking with your word and support for Linda Cavazos as well. There are people up there that I know that gave commitments to Linda that betrayed themselves, and that just tells me what kind of a human being they are. That said, this is a tough job no matter what, and I do think at some point you ought to pursue changing your policies. That title of chair, vice chair, president of what? So, I mean, really, most boardrooms and as well, it's a vice chair, first vice chair, second, co-chairs. There's different ways to be able to do that where you all wind up with a voice. And I think that's part of what I'm excited about seeing one way or another this time around. I will reserve my comments regarding the chairperson during the 3.0 time because it's nothing personal, but I'm gravely disappointed as one who filed the complaint against Katie Williams for moving out of state and knew it, did the research with Metro, and to turn around and have someone elected that colluded and covered that up is inappropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Marie, you're in the queue, but Ms. Binder, are you still here? Oh, there you are. Marie?
Marie Nices, President of the Clark County Education Association. So I'm here before you because I believe in each one of you. I believe that you are here for the right reasons. I believe you want to lead this district in the right direction. But again, to my prior message, we need new leadership. We need new vision. I want to work in a district. This is my 32nd year in the district and 4.5 years as the president. I want my colleagues to work in a district that they are proud to work in. I want us to be able to make those changes for the better for our students, especially our most deserving students who are struggling right now because they do not have a licensed educator in front of them. So I believe in each one of you, but I would like to throw my support behind new leadership, and whether that's Trustee Stevens or Trustee Henry, I believe they're the people who are going to help lead us in the right direction. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Ms. Binder, and right behind you is Dr. Lazos.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell. I think this is like my 7th year of doing this. I had to beg for like 4 years for my previous trustee to ever get a seat in leadership because of the chaos. And once again, there's only one of those trustees still sitting here. Also, you guys just voted for a board president who's the last sitting trustee to give JARA money, not to mention the Katie Williams stuff. So congratulations, because she's shown us for 2 years now who she is, exactly who she is. And, you know, thankfully, we only have to endure this for a year, because I think come January next year, we're not going to have that type of consensus. And regardless, you will see me at every meeting, and you'll have to listen to everything that I have to say, because I get public comment, right, like everybody else. So I would love for my new trustee to have a seat in leadership, and I'm not going to beg for 4 years for it when, sure, we need new leadership, right? And you know, like normally we put things together like tenure, respect, experience, and apparently we're not following any of that. So why the hell not?
Thank you, Dr. Lazos, and then right behind her, Fernando Romero.
My name is Sylvia Lasos. I want to first of all congratulate the new members of the board. It is hard to run for office. You have to fundraise, you have to run, actually, you know, politic. It's a very difficult process, and then you find out, as somebody noted, that you only make $9,000 a year, and you have to work 90 hours a week. So thank you for serving the community and serving this board. I'm going to reiterate my comment of the low level of trust and respect for this board. I don't think you can appreciate in what low regard you are being put in unless you kind of come out of your little bubble. And the scorn, I use that word because it is a scientific social research word, scorn and disgust that I have heard expressed towards this board is really kind of shocking. We cannot move forward until you take seriously how important it is to reestablish trust and respect in this community. I agree with the comments that we need new leadership. At the same time, you have to know what is happening to you, happening at you, so that you can respond appropriately. So for that reason, I don't think it is a good idea to have a complete newcomer to be vice president, but somebody who has been on the board and has and should have now an opportunity to lead the board would be Brenda Zamora. I know Brenda when she was Brenda Guigui. I know she's Brenda Zamora now, and I don't know how long she's going to keep that name, but in any event, I've known Brenda for a long time. She's definitely a community person. She's a communicator. She knows the legislature. She believes in transparency, and she's a fair person. I hear some of the new members of the board dragging some of the stuff from 3 to 4 years ago into the current dialogue. I hear you, I feel you, I've been disrespected as well. It's horrible to come here and then to have total disrespect from this board. Brenda is not like that, she's a fair person. Let's really give yourselves a chance to recover from, I'm going to quote again the person who said, the turmoil of the past superintendent. Give yourselves a chance to recover from that turmoil. Get somebody with a little bit of experience like Brenda who really understands how to repair and how to bridge back to the community so that you have yourselves a chance to have success before the legislature may take more drastic actions with respect to this board, given the general feeling with respect to your performance. Thank you.
Thank you. After Fernando, do we have anybody else? Okay, you're our last person.
Thank you. Once again, greetings, members of the board. For the record, I'm Fernando Romero, a 58-year resident of Clark County, Nevada. In Brenda Zamora, I see myself when I was a young person. I founded the student organization of Latinos at UNLV in 1969 and the UNLV chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi in 1970. I'm saying this because all my life has been devoted to education. And in Brenda Zamora, I see dedication and compassion as far as deeply committed to championing the rights of all Clark County School District students and their parents. She profoundly understands the challenges and faced by immigrant families, inspiring her tirelessly efforts for social justice and equality. Education holds a special place in Trustee Zamora's heart. Her unwavering dedication ensures that every child, regardless of their background, has access to a quality education and the tools to succeed. In her 2 years as trustee for my district, District D, which I lost to Trustee Zamora, and in seeing her passion, I donated to her campaign because I knew that she would be the trustee that she's turned out to be. She has strengthened her mission to create a brighter and more equitable future for all students within the entire district. I come before you to urge you to please vote for Brenda Zamora, Vice President of this board. Gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. So Katrina and Dan, we did, on here, it only says 2.01.
What I need to write, but I wanted to be, they said I would nomination to write 2.01. So I want to talk about all nominations. I wasn't clear on the, when I asked, I understood the 2.1 out, 1, all the elections.
I hear what you're saying. And Dan, what about for yourself? Did you want to speak on all? Okay. Then I'm going to write in Dan, if you could come up. You want to do 2.02 and you want to do 2.03. And then Katrina, you go to there. Go ahead. Hold on for a second. Are you ready?
Is this on?
Yes,
I'm ready.
sir.
I want to speak to the board. You need to look at yourselves, what you've just done. All this talk about you want change, you want the school board to change, you want things to be more open. You just elected somebody, and I've never been in here before to do this. You just elected somebody, and I have nothing against Ms. Bustamante at all. But you elected somebody who no one got up to speak for, who no one nominated. You didn't even nominate her. She had to nominate herself, and then you voted her in. Now, you tell me what message you just sent to the community. It's the same thing that we just fought through all this other time. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not attacking you. I'm just saying all of you guys, you need to look at yourselves. And you need to think about what you're doing. You're supposed to be here for the kids of Nevada.
Thank you, Dan. And then we're going to Ms. Katrina.
Katrin Ivanov, now A. I'm like the sister of the hurricane.
Katrin. Did I say it right?
Yes, can you please start my timing? Thank you. I want to say that we heard that somebody promised somebody something and they went back on their promise. And I want to say thank you for that because you listened to the people and it was pointed out that the people overwhelmingly voted against the choice of Linda Carvazo. Linda Carvazo had three people that she endorsed. 3 of them lost. And what I wasn't able to speak prior to that was that Lorena collected only roughly $9,000, and she went against close to 60,000, I believe it was. Anyway, I'll do the details later. So I really appreciate that people actually thought about what the parents that are not able to be in this room actually wanted. They wanted a change, and even though it's a smaller change that we wanted, I am really appreciative that we're going to see a change. You're going to have 2 years to prove yourself. I appreciate that you are given that opportunity because we as parents wanted somebody that hasn't been in the school board before. We are very disappointed of the school board before for all the good things that was said for Linda Carvazo. I know that when she was chair, I was not even allowed at a meeting at one point, and police was called, and there is a record of them kicking me out and not letting me go in. So no, parents were not allowed to speak when their opinions were different than what the agenda was at the time. And I'm very disappointed that people that were chosen to make changes actually decided to stick with Linda. So I'm very appreciative. I hope that somebody else also run for that position for vice chair. And I hope that somebody of the new trustee runs for that, because they need to get a training. They need to get ready. In the next 2 years, we need a conservative chairperson. So hopefully one of you runs for that position. Nothing against Brenda. I just want real change. I want the new people to have the chances. I want more transparency. I want the parents to be in charge of the education of their kids. You were here to do what we voted you to do. So I really appreciate the choice that you make, regardless of what deal was struck before that. Thank you so much. And for my next speech, I will have the numbers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I believe that was the last person. So then we are going to go ahead and accept nominations. If you want to nominate someone, if you want to nominate yourself, please put yourself in the queue. Trustee Lorena, we're going to go with you first.
At this point, I would like to nominate Emily Stevens for Vice President.
Thank you. Trustee Stevens, do you accept that nomination?
Yes.
Okay, write that down on your tally sheet, members. Next in the queue, I think it's Lydia, or is it? It said it's Lydia. But were you in the queue, and when you said yes, that's what happened. So can you hit it one more time? There we go. Let's see.
Lydia's mic is on. Her mic is on.
Lydia's mic is on? Okay, Lydia, go ahead.
Sorry. I'd like to nominate myself for Vice President.
All right, thank you. Miss Emily, I think you're in the queue, right? Let's see. No? Did you want to be in the queue? No, because you've already accepted. Okay. Then I see, so Lydia.
Turn off your mic.
Trustee Ramona.
So I would like to make a motion to nominate Brenda Zamora. I feel that she has earned that role, and I know everybody's talking about change, but we need to remember that we need to think about relationships, and she can be the one that can deliver that with the legislative body, and she has such a deep ties and roots to the community and grassroots efforts that she's done. Her actions in this community have spoken louder. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Brenda, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, I accept. Thank you.
Okay. Then is anybody else in the queue? This is also time for discussion. Do any of the trustees have any comments? Trustee Barron.
Yes, thank you, Madam. Again, I've been at this thing here in elected public service for a long time, and there for a while, the majority of the Latino caucus there could probably tie the work of, I think, my club to help getting them elected. So much so that I've had a lot of people come and express their wish to be part of this board. But when that happened, I had this one guy who was 19 years old, and I guess his job was to work over at one of the electronic places, and I asked him what his qualifications were to be on the board. He told me that, well, he tutored his younger brothers and sisters, and of course, he was committed to change. I'm sorry. this board, we're overseeing basically almost 300,000 children's education. What people not people are, I as a policymaker in North Las Vegas know that we've actually had several large companies want to come to this valley, but when they find out where our district is, they know about it here. Why? Because our reputation has negatively preceded us. And with that, I've got to see people who got elected to this board who sometimes I wonder what the heck they're doing. Now, in the case of this young woman, and by the way, is it allowed to have people say things out there in the public while I'm speaking?
No.
If you'd be so kind as to please enforce the quorum in this room, I would really appreciate it.
I didn't hear anything.
I did. So
Well, my eyes are on you.
yeah.
My eyes are on you.
Yeah. So the point being is, I've known Brenda Zamora since she was a very young woman. I'm very familiar with her, and I've seen her grow. Yes, I did advocate for her candidacy, which she won, but I've seen her grow quite a bit. In the 2 years, she's really impressed me as growing into the consummate professional on this board, and her depth of knowledge has gone at an exponential rate. I think that at this point in time, the best person to be the vice president, to be a parliamentarian, to be everything that as our board policy states, the best person qualified right now would be Ms. Brenda Zamora, and I definitely endorse her candidacy for this position.
Thank you, Trustee Barron. The next person in the queue is, I believe, our Trustee Ramona. Nope. You took yourself off. Trustee Cavazos.
Okay. Also, just, is our screen not working there as far as being able to see the names? Okay, I'm sorry, because I'd been in the queue earlier, but then it just kind of disappeared. This is a hard decision. Vice president needs to be there when the president is not there. When I was vice president for 2 years, I attended a lot of events when the president was not able to attend. But also, the vice president needs to be a second, kind of like the right-hand person for the president, and to help them, not only on the dais, but also with agenda planning. And I'm hoping that with this position, what I mentioned earlier, that it's going to be something where the new president and the new vice president will work inclusively with the entire board so that everybody gets to have a hand in agenda planning, because that has not been the case with the last 3 presidents and the last vice presidents also. I have to say that. So at this time, I think that I would have to go with experience. I believe that with the legislature being extremely important, I know that Trustee Zamora and I have a lot of the same legislative contacts in the legislature, and I believe that also the other 2 candidates have their own talents as far as serving on the board, and we can use everybody's talents. But at this time, I feel that it's really important to look at experience. However, I will say that I would be happy with any of the 3 choices that are putting themselves out there and putting themselves out on the line. But I think that we do need to look at experience at this point. So I will be endorsing Brenda for vice president.
Thank you, Trustee. I have Lorena.
So I want to add, the reason I nominated Emily Stevens is because with the budget crisis that we have now, she is extremely knowledgeable on budgets. She works with banks. She seems very qualified, extremely intelligent and very qualified to be able to handle this position. And we keep talking about a new page and a fresh start, and she is definitely one of the new trustees that got elected overwhelmingly with dozens and dozens of thousands of votes in her favor, because she represents the change that parents want. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, Lorena, if you could, there you go. Okay, then we are going to go ahead and take the vote. Oh, actually, motion to close nominations. Thank you for that, Brenda. I will entertain a motion to close the nominations for Vice President. Trustee Johnson?
A motion to close the nominations for Vice President.
Thank you. Trustee Barron?
Second.
I have a first from Trustee Johnson, a second from Trustee Barron. Please cast your votes. Ms. Lydia, did you mark yours? Mark your to close the vote. There you go. All right, that is 7-0. With that, you have your ballots in your packet. You have 3 nominations. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and we had Emily, Lydia, and Brenda. We're going to go ahead and hear from Ms. Stevens.
Thank you. There's an old saying that says, follow the money, and you'll find everything you need to know, essentially. Something like that. I do have somewhat of an expertise, if you would, when it comes to financials. I'm definitely not an auditor by any means, but what I do know is that it's time that we start paying attention to detail in our agendas, in our consent agendas. There's a lot of information in there that in the past may have been overlooked, and I would like that to stop here. I believe that I'm qualified. One of the things that I talked about a lot during my campaign was qualifying. Am I qualified to be here? And not only am I qualified for understanding how to not only read a very large budget, but also how to manage and strategize a mission, oversight. I currently have oversight over multiple departments at my company, at the company that I work for. And I just think that there's a big opportunity for someone new like myself. And I know that that doesn't seem like an advantageous thing for this board to have somebody new in a role like this. Because, you know, what do I know? I just got here, right? But that's kind of the point, isn't it? I think that's one of the reasons why we have 4 brand new trustees all at one time. The community did want to see a lot of, the community did want to see new minds and new, they wanted to see new people who would step up and say, hey, let's take a look at this. Let's ask all the questions. Let's provide transparency. Let's provide accountability. I know how to do that. I already do it in my current role, and I believe I can do it very, very well here. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Stevens. Next, Lydia.
Thank you. This role entails supporting the president of this role, and so you have to have some experience with Robert's Rules of Order, which I have through the AZAC committee. And through my 10 years of experience in the military, coupled with education and the experience on the board here with AZAC, I think it makes me a perfect candidate to lead as the vice president. This role is a supportive role. It is a somewhat of a cheerleading role to be there when, you know, the president cannot be, and also provide that oversight that is needed. And so to make sure that we have that available to making sure that we don't have what happened previously continue to happen over and over and over. This role does not entail budgeting, even though that's a great skill to have. We need to be able to lead. We need to have that leadership, and we need to have somebody who has the experience with Robert's Rules of Order, with handling different types of ideologies. We need to have people that can do that. So I believe that makes me a good candidate for this.
Thank you. Trustee Zamora?
Thank you, Madam President. It's been a heck of a year. It's been a long 2 years. Very, first time for a lot of things that we have dealt with as a board. At the beginning, this is not what I thought I was signing up for, but I've learned. I don't think no one was really honest during my campaigning of how much time commitment it is to be here and to do the homework and to show up in community. I think the biggest reason I ran was because I'm a parent. I have an IEP student. I have a 504 student. I understand the struggles that some of my community is facing. I had to fight the district myself as an individual parent to get the things that my kids needed. So I resonate with a lot of the families in our district and what they're going through. My past 2 years, I have grown, learning. I've put my feet in the water. I've learned just Robert's rules of order, just how the system works. And behind, closed doors, one of my biggest focus was building this balance between a split board that we went through, learning about, different personalities, different opinions. And I tried really, really hard on being that person to make sure that both sides were being heard. I think I definitely built my reputation in that, being very, listening to everyone. My day-to-day job, it is, a policy-driven organization, so I get to, also learn the policy aspect of things. As we're going into a legislative session, I think I can be a very good balance to the president going into this session and really understanding how the system works. It's going to be a hard session. We all know this. We all want the same things, and I'm trying to help in that way in case the president cannot, be there. I can be there as in support, and I know how it is. I'm a friendly face in the building. We talk so much about new faces. I have not given an opportunity to be in a leadership role. I have not been part of agenda planning. I have not been part of just making sure what is missing. And I think that's what I also bring, is figuring out what's missing in these agendas, kind of filling in those gaps. There's been a lot of gaps these past 2 years, and I think I can do that. So that's why I think I'm the most qualified to run for, this seat, be as vice president, and support all my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now we are going to go ahead and take our vote. We have your ballot is in your packet. Please complete it, and our board liaison will come by and pick it up. Okay, Ms. Caitlin, please read the tallies into the record.
Thank you. I have Linda Cavazos voting for Brenda Zamora, Lydia Dominguez voting for Lydia Dominguez, Tamika Henry, voting for Brenda Zamora. Irene Bustamante Adams, voting for Brenda Zamora. Emily Stevens, voting for Emily Stevens. Brenda Zamora, voting for Brenda Zamora. Lorena Biasotti, voting for Emily Stevens.
Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 for Brenda,
Correct.
2 for Emily, and 1 for Lydia.
Correct.
Okay, so our vice president for the next year will be trustee Brenda Zamora. Let's congratulate her on their. Okay, we will move on to item number 2.03, and this is for the clerk position. We'll go ahead and take public comment first, and so up on the dais, Miss Tiffany, if you could come back up, and then after you will be Jenna, if you could come back up.
Good evening, Dr. Tiffany Beamel for the record. I don't know why I'm getting called Miss Tiffany. I'm not a kindergarten teacher. It's weird. And I'm a doctor, and I earned my doctorate, but it's cool. I would like to support the nomination of Lydia Dominguez for clerk. I think it's important to teach the new generation of trustees about transparency, honesty, commitment, integrity, and staying true to your word. She took over a tumultuous district that harbors a lot of mistrust and animosity, and she won by a lot. Her constituents were loud and proud. Fresh new ideas and a chance to learn under Trustee Cavazos, Trustee Zamora, Esparza, Strovigan, Johnson, Barone, and Satori. Everyone deserves a chance to show what they're worth and what they've got hidden under the surface. But more importantly, everyone deserves a chance to change and grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. And after you, Chris G., if you could come up. Go ahead.
Jenna Robertson for the record. I'm torn. I could have sat there and thought for 10 more minutes about what I wanted to come up here and say because the role of clerk, while important, I think it is important to be part of, the decision-making planning, but I have faith that this new board, under this new leadership, is going to take all voices on the dais into consideration when we're talking about things like agenda writing. I don't think the response that Trustee Cavazos got from this room when that was said is a mistake. I hope that was heard. So the role of clerk, while important and meaningful, this is probably going to shock anybody who knows me. Lydia Dominguez, I don't know you. I don't know a thing about you except that you're a Moms for Liberty candidate. I'm a mom of 2 trans kids in this district, and I want to sit down and have a cup of coffee with you because I think you're reasonable, and I think we could have a conversation, and I thank you for that. Whether or not we walk away agreeing on anything, debatable. I think you're reasonable, and I thank you for that. And I thank you for the service to this district up until this day. Thank you for being up there. I came up here to support Tamika for clerk, and I think Tamika would be a great choice. But I can't help also thinking Lydia would be a good choice and a good reach across the aisle. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And after Chris, we have Dr. Lazos. You would be on this side. Please proceed.
Thank you, Christian Kiliani, for the record. Politics is so fun, isn't it? After 30 plus years in it, and you never know what's going to happen. But I have faith that all of you will choose to work together because you have no other opportunity. Otherwise, it's exactly who we just got rid of. And so for clerk, it's antiquated language. You need legislative changes because it is the person who handles the bonding and the money, and you don't do that. You pay people for that part of it. So that's why earlier I suggested you really should take a look, at least in the meantime, at your resolutions and take a look at changing the duties up so that more of you are included. You can do that without statute. You can reference still clerk as a title. I'm torn. But I'm going to suggest that you support Lydia Dominguez. When the Lundy situation came about, our new chair voted against it and voted to keep it closed. Ms. Dominguez came up along with Lisa Satori and immediately toured that along with Nakia, who was the temporary appointee. And you don't know how much that meant to the parents on the mountain. And sometimes you have to learn to trust and verify, but give somebody an opportunity to not be labeled as a Moms for Liberty or a Joe Blow or whatever. You're all people. And at some point, we're all affiliated with some organizations. We should not be defined by that. So you have a good choice. You have different people that could do this job no matter what. Any one of you up there could. But I do think because you were responsive and you showed that you cared and that you listened, that's all most of us want in this audience. So good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna Binder, hold on, Dr. Lasos. Anna, you're up. Go ahead, Dr. Lasos.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I want to express gratitude for making eye contact with those of us that are testifying. That did not happen before. The superintendent at the time, who has again been referred to as the turmoil of the president, never made eye contact with a single client of a school district. So ask yourself how much trust and confidence the community has when the people that we elect won't even look at us when we're talking. So thank you for turning the page. I think what I would like for you to take away is that you need to expand this executive board concept, that should be the first order of your working business, because it is not only outmoded, it is also, now that you have as many members as you have, unduly restrictive. When I teach constitutional law and I talk about what's important about the legislature, or what's important about being a committee chair, it's the power of the agenda. It is the power to say to your peers what we're going to discuss. And that's what this 3-unit board, that's why they're important. That's why you're kind of jockeying about. But if only 3 people get to say what you're talking about, then you have the rest of the board shut down. And yet I voted for you, Dominguez, or I voted for you, Cavazos. And I need for you to have a voice so that you can respond to the community and rebuild trust. So only having the president and the vice president dictate who, what gets discussed completely shuts out, 12 or 13 members of the board. You just need to make that your first order of business so that doesn't continue to happen and you don't get rolled over as the next year continues. I totally agree that we need a clerk that is new, that can learn, that can put that input of what the community was telling you during elections. You went through that process. I don't know you, Trustee Dominguez, but I am impressed by how you have won people to your side, and I'm also impressed that you served in AZAC, which has to be an unthankful task. At the same time, I respect lawyers. Tamika, as you well know, I think I love lawyers. And I agree with you, Trustee Stevens, that we absolutely have to get into the budget. And I am very happy to hear somebody who loves numbers, right? Not just words. Thank you. I didn't mean to exclude you, Lorena, but thank you again for your service.
Thank you, Anna. And after you, Fernando up here on the left, on my left. Go ahead, Anna.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell. Oh, for those who know me know that I get frustrated with the district more than I get frustrated with the board. So tonight's different. Many people don't know that I met Lydia well before AZAC. Lydia and I came across each other when she was a parent looking for help for an issue going on out at her son's school. And I assisted her to the best of my ability. I helped her navigate the SOT meeting and stood ready, willing, and by her for any assistance that she needed navigating that issue. And you'll hear her, if you haven't, along the way discuss what that was. But then there was a little fall off there because I felt lied to, or not lied to, manipulated. And I told her where I stood on that. And I didn't talk to her again until she got appointed to AZAC and had to sit next to me. And then we worked it out. We talked about it. And I think, in those moments, Lydia, I was always clear about how I felt about what happened. She responded, she acknowledged that feeling and what had transpired, and we've thus moved on from there years ago. And so during the campaigning last year, and I was getting outreach from members of her community, I may not have been loud about it on social media, but I was very supportive of Lydia, despite the label that most of the community wanted to put on her. And Lydia has very much demonstrated her willingness to break any of those perceived barriers and has been more of a representative for her district than Katie Williams ever was. So if that's the route we're going, I wanted to say those words out loud for people who don't know that about her and I. And she knows that we don't always we disagree, agree, whatever, that whole fuck. That is the first time I have ever almost cussed in this room. Wow, sorry about that. Sorry, Mom. But anyway, so if Lydia and I were able to repair a relationship like that, and most of you know, I don't lie. I say stuff very brutally and honestly. Maybe that's the autism in me. Who knows? Who cares? It's who I am. But if her and I could overcome that even years ago, before she was in the public eye and before she ever thought about running and before she ever got appointed to AZAC, she can overcome a lot of things that this community might think of her. So let's do it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Romero, and after Dan, are you still in the?
Thank you, Fernando Romero, for the record. As many years as I have been in Clark County, I've met so many individuals, both in high and every rango of the step ladder. I've known, for example, Trustee Esparza ever since she was like 10 or 12 years old. I've known Isaac Barron since he started at Rancho High School, etc. But I know about half of you. But I know some other individuals with whom I have had dealings with and respect their words. I respect Chris G. tremendously. I've known her for over 45 years. And I respect Dr. Lazos because I've known her for so long and because of her status in the community, which is very high. And I just heard Ms. Dominguez speak for just briefly, a few words, but I was impressed by what you said, and mostly impressed by what Chris G. and Dr. Lazos had to say about you. So I would like to ask you to please consider voting Lydia Dominguez as clerk for this Clark County School District Board. Gracias.
Thank you. And then our Catherine.
Hi, my name is Katrina Ivanov, and I promise to give you the numbers. Lorena Biasciotti was given close to $9,000 from people. Her opponent was given close to $60,000 from people. I'm saying that to acknowledge that people didn't care about money this time around. There is something a lot more important. And maybe one of the rules you guys have to change in the future is that the people get nominated first so we can speak on the people that are nominated. Because right now we don't know who is nominated and we're just throwing things in the air. However, I cannot express loudly enough my disappointment with Lydia Dominguez, because Lydia Dominguez was sent here by the parents for changes. And the first vote she cast was for Linda Carvazo, who the parents overwhelmingly voted against the people she endorsed. So that is telling me, and this is just my opinion, I want to be very clear, this is my opinion, that Lydia made some deal so she can get the clerk position. So whoever else is against her for that position, I beg you vote for that person. We are sick of deals behind closed doors. We need you to start listening to the parents. The way we got rid of Katie, we're gonna get rid of everybody that is doing deals behind closed doors. We're gonna find out. You don't express the parents' opinion, you will hear in the vote booths. $9,000 against $60,000. That's why we have Lorena. That's why we're fighting for her, because she may not have the experience, but she has the heart, and her values are in the right place. I'd rather have a person with value. Everything else you can learn. Trump didn't have experience, and he was the best president we had. And Biden, with all his experience, what is this? We're about in a nuclear war about now. So I don't want your experience. I want values. We voted for values. Please keep that in mind when you vote. And Lydia is going, and I want to be very transparent. I am friends with Lydia, or at least I was. I don't know if we're still going to be. I'm open to it. I was friends with Lydia until I come up here to talk, because I'm very disappointed of her actions, because she was sent here to do something else, and she's, in my opinion, she's here for herself, not for the kids, not for the teachers, not for anything else, her future in politics. So please, all the parents, make a vote, make a note who is voting how. Thank you. Maybe next time we will know who we're talking about, so we can actually express who we're supporting. But in this case, I'm supporting anybody but Lee.
Thank you for your opinion. Seeing no others in public comment, we're actually going to open up the nominations for clerk. Put yourself in the queue. I see Trustee Barron.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. You know, actually, I probably saw the very best endorsement for this clerk's position happen just yesterday. Was it yesterday when we did the swearing in? It seems like, oh my gosh, you see, I lost the D already. I saw the best nomination that I've seen in a long time. I saw two great young men here. They were here in support of their mom. And just by watching them, just by listening to their mannerisms, the young men are very highly, they're really well educated. You could tell they came up with a basis of respect. In talking with Lydia Dominguez, I came to respect what her background is. Of course, we do respect her service, and we respect they're in the Air Force. But basically, she comes from an organization. She's actually like an organizer. She basically is an HR officer, even though she was enlisted. I think had she stayed in the military long enough, she'd be like a Mustang, a person that works their way up through the enlisted ranks into the officer position. Why? She's probably smarter than the officer that she was working under. What she has, on the discussion that we have, she has she has something that we don't see oftentimes. She has vision. She has vision regarding that clerkship position, and transforming it into something that's more than what we have here, than a secretary. I know I'm not the organizational type person. All you got to do is go by and see out of my office, or what used to be in my classroom, right? Organization is not my thing, okay? I'm kind of okay with communication, at least if you don't email me, I guess that's okay. But when we talk about communication and organization, I think at this time, the best person for this job is my new colleague, Lydia Dominguez.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Barron. Ms. Dominguez, do you accept?
I accept the nomination.
Thank you. The next person in the queue is Trustee Zamora.
Thank you, Madam President. I know Trustee Dominguez's experience on AZAC. I think I have commended her on the work she's done and how she comes to the table. I respect her for that. I actually want to nominate Tamika Henry, and my reasons are Tamika has years of experience on sitting on multiple boards from Head Start to Acelero, and I will be very, very curious to see how she can help our team and leadership improve our agenda, how we have these conversations in public, and how just to make them better and be more transparent. I think she has that experience. She knows Robert's Rules of Orders because of the board she sits on. So I think she has that experience that we desperately need.
Thank you. Trustee Henry, would you accept?
I accept your nomination.
Thank you. Trustee Lorena?
I would like to nominate once again Emily Stevens for clerk. I think it's a huge disservice to this board to not put Emily Stevens in some capacity in this type of role, leadership, where she can actually use her experience to go through our budgets, pay attention to detail. I am sure 100% that no one will pay attention to detail the way she will. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Stevens, do you accept the nomination?
I have read the job description for clerk, and I believe that I can still do a good job, a very good job with the budget side and some of the other areas without being in this position. So while I appreciate the nomination, I don't think that it is the best fit for me, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Lorena?
I would like to retract my nomination and at this point, second the nomination for Tamika Henry.
Okay, we haven't closed the nomination yet, but thank you for expressing your support for her. Any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to close the nomination for clerk. I have Trustee Cavazos in the queue.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to close the nominations.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. Trustee Biasotti?
I second the motion.
I have a first from Trustee Cavazos, a second from Trustee Biasotti. And I hope I'm saying your name right because I'm going to get it right.
Close enough.
Okay. Go ahead and cast your vote. Okay, that motion passes 7-0. We're going to go ahead and hear Trustee Dominguez, if you would like to give some remarks.
Thank you. I really appreciate the community coming out and saying that. I have had many relationships with many people, and I have tried my very best to be very honest and very firm in my beliefs every single day of my life. I have two amazing kids that we've mentioned who are now 18 and 15. I have a lot of time. I have the time to put in for this position. I have the experience that is needed for this position. And I have had many times, in the Air Force where there were times that I needed to excel or that I could go further, even in my military career. And, to be frank, due to the COVID-19 vaccine requirement, I did not take that. And so that ended my military career. And it was an unfortunate thing that happened. But I honorably separated, and I stood by my values, and I stood by what was right, and I will continue that. And if there are things where I will not agree with people with certain things, but I can have a conversation with you and be honest and be kind. There's no reason to be rude, but there is a way to communicate my views on things, and I think that's an amazing thing. But in regards to this position, I do believe I have all of the qualifications needed. I have the background in human resourcing and administrative, senior administrative experience, and I have the, a business management education, and that I think puts me in a really well spot because I do have the time that I can dedicate to this. And so, I'll end with my kids. I take a lot of pride in my kids, even though, sometimes I call my babies, but they I truly believe that children are a reflection of you, and making sure that I'm raising good young men to love this country and love the community that they're in. It really is important to me, and I appreciate the view on how I am as a parent, how I am as a person, how I am as a trustee. I hope it does reflect with my children. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Henry?
Thank you so much. I have been an advocate in this district for nearly 2 decades. And I do really value building relationships. I'm experienced on multiple mission-driven boards and organizations. I've served on the Head Start board for years, where I learned how to be a member of a board and work alongside others, no matter the difference in our values. I'm experienced, I'm knowledgeable, and I'm looking forward to serving on this board. But even as clerk, I can do it, and I'm ready.
Thank you, Trustee Henry. At this time, then, we are going to go ahead and use our ballots that we have in our packet to be able to cast our votes.
Madam President, would you like me to read these?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. All right, I have Linda Cavazos voting for Lydia Dominguez. I have Lydia Dominguez voting for Lydia Dominguez. Tamika Henry voting for Tamika Henry. Emily Stevens voting for Lydia Dominguez. Irene Bustamante Adams voting for Tamika Henry. Brenda Zamora voting for Tamika Henry. Lorena Biasotti voting for Tamika Henry.
Thank you, Ms. Caitlin. So I do have 1, 2, 3 for Lydia, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 for Tamika. So our next clerk for this year will be Trustee Tamika Henry. All right. Let us now, since we finished the 3 nominations, let us go to public comment 3.01. Ms. Zamora, do we have anybody on the? Oh. Tim Underwood, are you still in the audience? Okay, he left. We have Stephanie Kingsley. And then we also have Miss Jenna. Are you still in the? Oh, there you are. If you could come up to my left. Miss Stephanie, please proceed.
Okay. I'm here as one of just the regular normal moms that Miss Lorena helps represent. And when I was out door knocking for Lorena, we went against Carl. That's why I was out in your neighborhood. And out for Lydia. A majority of people are sick and tired of this. They're sick and tired. I went to school here. I graduated in 1999 when Nevada was still at the bottom of the totem pole for schools. We get plenty of money each year, but it's wasted on expensive school buses, JARAs, funding. When anyone goes to Transparent Nevada and can see how much these teachers and administrators are making and what we're getting for that, and I'll be the first one to admit, it's solid family homes, solid families in your homes that are going to fix our schools. Because Utah gets less money than us, but they have more 2-parent households. All the broken kids, most of the broken kids are coming from 2-parent or from single mother households, and we won't acknowledge that. We won't acknowledge out here that fatherless homes are failing. Instead, we'll lie and blame it on race. That's a lie. We'll lie and blame it on sexual orientation. First of all, the fact that we have adults discussing their sexual orientation with kids, that's red flag 101, which anyone with a degree in counseling should be aware of. We're a laughing stock as a state. And I know some of you are new, but at the end of the day, this is the same stuff, different day. It's a joke. If you, seriously, the people of you that were so happy to wear a mask and abuse children to do so, whether you're a teacher, whatever the case is, I don't know if you're just that mentally deficient or if you're pure evil. Because you have to be mentally, like literally mentally deficient to go through a winter with your steam coming out of your mask and think a virus was prevented. So who were you just following orders because some white guy in a suit told you to do it? Or was it just that your liberal ideology is all you care about and you're willing to sacrifice children for it? Just like you sacrifice them to Planned Parenthood. Which, why does Planned Parenthood have any stake in our school? Because they're only killing babies or harming them with gender-ruining drugs. Why are we lying to little boys and saying you could be a girl instead of telling them the truth? That it was our founding fathers were young men. Jesus' disciples were mostly young men. There's a power that young men hold, and lying to them and saying they're held back by their race is assault. You should be arrested for that. It's just as bad as you masking them up. You're setting kids up for failure. You're child abusers. I don't even know what to do about someone supporting with someone who abused our children for years. That's disgusting. So I hope today you guys make a change, pull your heads out of your little liberal butts, and save our children.
Thank you for your opinion, Ms. Jenna. And then after that, Chris G.
Jenna Robertson, for the record. I'm a proud mom of 2 trans kids, as I've already said to you. I think it's so funny hearing the opinions of a proud parent in our midst who my 8-year-old learned the C word from watching a school board meeting at home with her mom. Learned the C word, or getting pushed out that door. My daughter asked me what that word meant. Boy, was that great. That was about the last day that my kid was able to watch a board meeting with me at home. I will watch after the fact now on my phone. Yeah, it's great. So I also would like to just point out, I was sitting here thinking about how I feel about the new board, right? About the new executive board. And what I had hoped to get from Trustee Cavazos in a president, and what I think we'll get now. What I hoped to get from Trustee Cavazos as a president was somebody who listens very openly to both sides of an opinion in the community. I expected that we would get board agendas coming forward that reflected the concerns of the community, not just myself, the C word mom as well, and any other parent that comes here with, oh, don't shake your head, please, because, yeah, we'll play that video. I thought that we would get heard. And I don't really feel like anybody, I mean, I know that the election is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this board. I don't think anybody that comes to these meetings on either side of any aisle here felt heard the past couple of years. I don't feel like there were agenda items that we cared about, that we were asking about, not just myself. I have very conservative friends who wanted issues brought forward that were not heard. So I trusted and I believe that Trustee Cavazos would have brought some of the concerns forward that the public and the community wanted. So when I come to a board meeting and every time I hear my trustee that represents my district start a statement with the business community, or I thank the business community, or I'd like to acknowledge the business community, that makes me as a parent feel not heard. I don't feel the parents are being heard, not just me. I'm talking about parents that don't agree with me too. I hear the only thing that matters to my trustee is the business community, which is great. Who doesn't love the business community? I'm not a member of the business community. I don't feel heard. So I would like to see going forward that we have agendas that reflect what the community is asking for and address those issues too. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you for your comment. After Chris, we have Anna Binder on this side. Please proceed.
Thank you, Christine Kiliani. I did want to echo, thank you for the eye contact, because every one of you had done that tonight, and that's not something that we rarely see up here. Now, I just thought I'd offer a few ideas for board changes. Put a student back on the board of directors that used to be. Why they were taken off and their voice was silenced blows my mind. Secondarily, change your meeting times from 4 and 5 o'clock to be responsive to the public as well as yourselves for your jobs, because that was done for the convenience of somebody, but I don't know who the hell it was. Review and rewrite your board policies. You could actually have working groups to take sections and involve the public and those of us that sit through these meetings and get some ideas on how to get rid of some of them or eliminate some of them. Pull back every external contract, and I think Ms. Stevens or Trustee Stevens, you'll be able to help with that. I was supposed to be on the audit committee, but that took me off the audit committee because I knew too much about audits. But I think you have an opportunity. Every one of those, we need to know why you're putting out-of-state companies are getting money from Clark County School District. You could hire teachers and parents and principals to write a lot of the stuff that needs to be done instead of contract it out. Review how many special ed kids are being labeled or charged with bullying, as one of your parents brought up on Monday night. I'm a special ed teacher of 30 years. That bothers me because someone doesn't understand their disability then, if that's the case. Next, Lundy Elementary. Nothing's on tomorrow's agenda. There's 5 items for building issues or more, and nothing on there. There's been no application made to the health district for the septic system. Design build is not needed for a septic system, and I tried to explain that to your facilities director, but was ignored. We need to know the timeline. We need to know when the school is going to be open in August. Right now, there's no snow, so you could actually be doing some of the work that needs to be done because it's not frozen over. When can Trustee Dominguez and Satori go into the school? Will CCSD show up to report to the town board on January 30th to update the community about what's going on with there? Those are some of the questions that are there. Now, finally, and I don't want to end on this kind of a note, but I'm going to. You continue to be misled by your attorneys, and you continually to meet illegally and violate the open meeting law. Every closed-door session that occurs before every one of your board meetings are illegal, and I'm filing an open meeting law complaint. The reason is you are only allowed to go into closed session. It has to be agendized, and you have to say, we're going into closed session for 241, 288, or to discuss the character of one of my fellow trustees, period. Attorney-client privilege, they can do over the phone, or they can do it as a special meeting, noticed on the agenda. So I brought for you, because they always throw my stuff out when I bring handouts, but I took a copy of the Clark County Commission agenda for how it's worded, and also how consent is on, how each of you should be allowed on the agenda to take an item off to have it discussed. All those things need to be empowered so that you can get back some of the power, because you're going to get blamed for everything, but you allow.
Thank you for your comments. After Ms. Binder, Fernando, are you still here? You'll be next on this side. Go ahead, Anna.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell. So what Dr. Lazos was referring to earlier was the construction of your agenda. And if you go onto board docs and you go back to about 2017, 2018 and pull an agenda, there was very specific agenda items for you guys all to openly discuss items that you wanted to come forward onto an agenda. So the public could hear what you were talking about, and then you guys would vote to bring those things forward. And if it didn't pass the vote, you could keep bringing it up. Like, you know, like, let's beat a dead horse, right? Like, let's just keep bringing it back until, like, you guys say, okay, we're going to discuss it. Chris is right about those closed sessions, and I've been so frustrated with those over the years. But, you know, unfortunately, the Nevada Ethics Commission has kind of been vacant from the state of Nevada for a while. So it gets a little frustrating when you're constantly filing complaints and they don't do anything. So, you know, but Chris G's a wonderful help with that. So anyways, furthermore, there's, oh gosh, you guys have a lot of work on your plate. And it's more than just, like, we'll talk about it more tomorrow, but it's more than just hiring like a facilitator for training. It is truly, like you guys said, you're all here for a reason. You all ran for a reason, just like I ran for a reason, and why I show up for every stupid meeting where nobody's listened to for years on end is because if we don't show up and we don't say something, whether I agree with you or not, like, right? But if we don't show up, like here in a couple meetings, there's only going to be about maybe 3 or 4 of us that consistently show up for the next couple years. And well, I mean, I'm hoping more, but you know, so be it. I'll be that jerk. But we used to get, let's break the word, punned on, I guess, by prior leadership because we were the only people who showed up. But look, I have been told before, like, oh, I don't know why you waste your time. And I'm like, well, if I don't waste my time, then nobody wastes their time, right? So imagine sitting here and you guys are just talking amongst yourselves, like meeting after meeting, and say nobody shows up. I mean, yeah, everybody can watch the meeting online, but when the community shows up and they are willing to participate, and there are few parents, like on either side of the aisle, that we do engage with our communities. And we've all spent many, many years with our own communities and like-minded people. You know, sometimes you're going to have more people who come to me than come to you. I know that from my last 2 trustees. And I bring those forward to you guys, whether I agreed with it or not, right? But you just really, really, that facilitator and your vision forward, because if not, you're going to hear us like a broken record, and we're so tired of being a broken record.
Thank you for your opinion. Fernando, after you, it's Catherine.
Fernando Romero for the record. I really sat back debating whether I should come forth or not with this issue, but it is important because it's going to hit very hard on you as trustees, every single one of you. In the United States, there are approximately 400,000 high school students that are here without the proper documentation. And it has been said that there will be mass deportation of individuals who are here undocumented. It is calculated or estimated that approximately at least 6,000 students within the Clark County School District are here undocumented. And all I want to do is plant a seed to you as a board to commence figuring out what is going to be done relevant to these individuals and how to deal with the issue. Hopefully, it's a scare tactic, which I doubt very seriously. It will come about, and it is going to hit you and us as a community hard. So just to plant that seed as far as what the future holds, and for you to concentrate and try to deliberate as to what will happen, how we are to deal as a community together, how to deal with that issue. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. The next, go ahead, Catherine, and then after you, it's Kenny.
Just 1 second, please. I'm sorry, I'm right now. Okay, that's gonna be better. Sorry about that. Katrina Ivanov, I want to say that today I am very happy with what happened. Both sides of the political landscape. I'm sorry, I'm in a lot of pain and I refuse to take pain medication. Both sides of the political landscape didn't get all what they want, and both sides are equally happy and unhappy with today, which for me, that's a win for the parents and win for the kids. The parents obviously overwhelmingly voted that they didn't want Linda Carbazo's leadership and opinion. And I am very happy to hear everybody that says everything they says about her. I'm hoping that she's going to be a good, productive member. Nothing against you guys personally. And I'm very disappointed that a friend that I love, today I had to speak against her. And she had to lose because I had very, very big hopes for her. So with that said, please, if you can do something about transparency, and also if you can change that rule that we know who is nominated before we speak, so we can actually speak for the person we're supporting versus speaking in the air, hypotheticals. And also, if you have something similar to what the Dodge is doing, like if you can put the budget on the website, because more people reading, it is my understanding, you got close to 1,500 pages that need to be read in a few days, and it's a Herculean task. So if more people are able to read and give an input, of course, it's up to you what you're going to do. And then on the voting booth, we're going to judge you by your votes. But if we have some more chance, you heard many times today said that this is the first time that you guys are looking us at the eyes. I obviously haven't been here a lot. After the last time I was not allowed to get into the meeting, and Linda was chair at the time, I stopped coming. So right now I am very encouraged. I don't know how often I'll be able to come because I'm waiting to have a surgery on my foot, so obviously I'm not going to be able to move for a while, but I will be watching from the internet. I don't know if we can comment from the internet. That would be a good option if it's not there. Yeah, I'm very hopeful that this time around, more of you are going to listen to the parents, because Corona, as bad as it was, opened our eyes. We actually saw what our kids were taught. We were not happy with what our kids were taught. We were not happy with adults discussing their sexuality regardless of.
Thank you for your opinion, Kenny. Thank you.
Good evening, Interim Superintendent, Madam President, School Board of Trustees. For the record, my name is Kenny Belknap. I'm a social studies teacher at Liberty High School, and I also serve as the Vice President of the Clark County Education Association. I want to congratulate, again, all of our new members for joining the board. And now that the election is over, now that we have new officers elected, Now's the time for this body to really start to rally behind each other, to really come together and put our students and our community first. You know, we have a lot of great opportunities ahead of us. You all have a lot of really hard decisions ahead of you. Number one being selecting who that new leader of this district is going to be, a position that's going to determine the success of this district for the next 5 years to a decade. And not just that, I want you guys to not lose sight. I know I mentioned this Monday, but in just 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks now, the legislative session opens. You know, 2 years ago, it was the session of investment. They saw $2 billion come into the education system, over $1 billion come down here to CCSD. Accountability is coming now. And again, I want to encourage all of you to come together to support the work of our governor, of our state legislator, to find ways to fix the Clark County education system. We need to find ways to make sure that our students are learning, that they're progressing, and that the funds that our state invests in us, that puts trust in all of you to be good stewards of, we need to make sure we deliver on that. Because if we continue down this path, there's no guessing as to what might come for CCSD. So again, I encourage you all, don't run from accountability, embrace it, come together as a board, put our students first, and let's make sure we make Clark County a great place to teach, learn, and be a member of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? That was our last public comment. Before I close, let us give a round of applause for those that put ourselves out there as trustees. Even if we didn't get elected, that doesn't mean that we're not leaders. And so I'd like to congratulate Trustee Zamora and also Trustee Henry for getting nominated and elected. So let's give a round of applause. I do want to also say that I heard each one of you. We're a team. It's not one person. And I am committed to grow the team and looking forward for all 11 of us to play a role. Thank you, Trustee Stevens, to talk about your strength as far as the budget. Thank you, Lydia, for talking about your strength. And so I'm committed to learning how we can give to this team for the benefit of our community and for the kids. So with that, I'm going to entertain a motion on item 4.01. Actually, that's our trustee. We have a Board of Trustee meeting tomorrow at 5 o'clock. That'll be our first Board of Trustee meeting, but I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Trustee Esparza Stroffagan.
I'd like to make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
I have a first. Do I have a second? I have Trustee Zamora.
I would like to second that motion.
All right. All in favor, please cast your votes. Thank you and have a good evening.